8 episodes in, and I still really like this show. And I really want a lot of people to watch this show, and hopefully like this show in some degree because it's honestly an amazing show. I'll try and contain myself here and not spoil, but talking about the show is already a spoiler, and that'll become apparent in the video. So, light spoilers, but I won't get into anything serious. I'd like to start, as I usually do, by mentioning some of the people behind Starlight. Like Studio Kinema Citrus, the same people behind shows like Made in Abyss, Barakamon, and Tokyo Magnitude 8.0. Furukawa Tomohiro as the director, who's worked for shows like Angel Beats, Durarara, and even Natsume Book of Friends, but this seems to be his first time directing. Yamada Yu, the sound director, who's done work for Made in Abyss, Garden of Words, and Hisone to Masotan. And of course you need someone to make great music, so we have Tatsuya Kato, who's done Fate Ilya, Free, and Horizon in the Middle of Nowhere. But of course I'm here to gush about the show, not just the people working on it, and what better place to start than the story. The story of Starlight is one that's very simplistic. It's set in Seisho Music Academy, a school that trains students in the art of theater, whether that be script writing, dance, song, stage performance, what have you. We follow the 99th graduating class with Karin Aijo, an aspiring star who just wants to perform the best rendition of Starlight, a play that they've decided to perform annually. But Karin just doesn't want to perform the best Starlight ever, she wants to do so with her childhood friend, who she's made a promise to, Hikari Kagura. This sounds fine enough. There's a main goal to work towards, and it's actually in a very unique setting. This isn't just an idol show, but a theater show, and that adds dynamic to the performing arts genre that we are so used to. To my knowledge, theater hasn't been explored as much in anime. The performing arts genre, in general, I think hasn't been too vastly explored, and the only other show I can think of is Joshiraku that did something different, but it was still more leaning towards parody and satire and comedy. But if you don't care about any of that, if you don't care about idol shows, music shows, performing arts shows, then the main story of Starlight, of working towards this one goal of perfecting their art, might not be appealing. And that's fine. This base storyline can be applied to anything. But it wasn't this initial plot that drew me in to continue watching, and the show wastes no time on proving how different it actually is. The first reaction I had, and that anyone might have when just casually dipping their toes into what seems to be a light-hearted idol romp, only to be thrown into a fight club, might be surprised. Instead of opting for performances or just placing insert songs in the middle of animation, we have full-on fight scenes. Not only are these fight scenes really well animated and awesome to look at, but they are also done in effect to solve the show's secondary main plot, and the real story of the show. The hidden story, if you will. These girls are not only trying to make the best production of Starlight, but are also literally fighting for the position of top star, and by participating in an underground audition fight club can they realize their dreams. This is where the meat of the show really begins to shine, and where it really hooked me in. They are literally fighting to the top, and this adds another layer to the show that differentiates itself from the norm, and a very entertaining differentiation to boot. One thing that I will have to say about this added element to the show is that it creates a world. There's this sudden aspect of magic, or sci-fi, or well, I'm not sure how to explain talking giraffes and suddenly transforming into well-versed fighters is supposed to be, but it's there. Some may not care about explanations, but some will. You're not going to understand why we're suddenly fighting, but we are. And the show kind of forces you on its ride. Even the characters don't really try to make sense or really question why things are happening in the way they're happening. They just kind of roll with it and participate because, they want to be top star. But still, on the other hand, I'm wondering why they don't just ask more questions about this weird underground arena. It just seems weird to me in retrospect. This is a pretty big hole in logic that doesn't necessarily need to be explained, but it is the main construct of the show, and is something that I hope going forward that they do in some part wish to touch upon. One of the main things about Starlight is that after it's established what it wants to do, it does it in strides. Starlight follows a pretty strict formula of having the first section of the show act as a setup towards the second act of the show, which is the fight. The first half then acts as the main story element, dealing with specific characters from the main cast, filtering sometimes through the actions of Karin. These grounded scenes, or drama scenes, all work to build up character, motivations, and to set up the surface plot of practicing for Starlight. But they all eventually converge around the fights. Despite being formulaic, it's still very fitting, and it makes a lot of sense to have it be structured in such a way. They're just showing both sides of the coin with each episode, and I think that method of literally just splitting it in half is simple, but effective. Of course, since they are sticking pretty strictly to this format, it means that sometimes the story may feel a little short at times. At least I felt that some moments could have lasted a little longer, and that having more than a single episode for some arcs could have made an overall stronger connection with the characters or whatever's happening on the screen. At times, things really did feel like they were moving quickly, and that they were trying to move from one episode to the other to get characters out of the way so that they can do better things. And that's not always good. It almost seemed like they didn't want to stick too long to certain arcs, especially with the recent episodes that, something really important and huge happened that I thought, and I think many thought, was going to be, something game-changing, ended up not being as game-changing because they were willing to just stick to their formula. But in doing so, arguably, we get to the point much faster, and despite the story being told in these segments and episodes, their overlying message is still prominent and waiting to be discussed. The actual show is still about working hard towards a goal, but there's a lot of substance to be found beyond that. The show is also about what it takes to be the very best, and what kind of sacrifices you have to make in order to continue to work hard, in order to continue to keep doing what you need to do. It's about competition, and the action scenes serve as a projection of that fierce battle that stems from wanting to be the very best among others. These are brutal environments, and having them be depicted in such a visceral manner is perfect. But this is also applied to anything in general, not just performing arts. As an allegory to chasing your dream, you're going to experience a lot of emotion, and each character embodies a certain emotion that's also depicted through their review title, which is a very nice touch. The show really explores the depth that being part of this industry, or being someone who is in a similar position, may feel. This is a very serious show, dealing with topics that I feel a lot of people can in some way relate to, even if they aren't a creative or a performer. And no matter how dark and how serious these character arcs can be, I think the show does a really great job in emphasizing Karin in all of this, because she is the starlet of the show. She is the optimist, and it's her viewpoint, her juxtaposition, that makes the show's messages and emotions tangible. And even if she isn't there, the show still somehow finds a way to end their arcs on this brighter light while the characters develop and we feel the characters developing, and it all kind of makes sense in this neat little tight-knit package that is all completed through their battle. I've been sprinkling this talk about action and the fight scenes all throughout this video, and I want to at least dedicate a main section to synthesize all of that. The action is great, it felt exciting, and it was well choreographed, and it looked great, and it also fit well into the story. That's the main thing I want to see of my fight scenes. I want to see them make sense in the scope of why it's there, not for the sake of spectacle. Starlight for me has put these fight scenes methodically to split up the tension and storytelling, but also to really act as this epic climax for the characters, and means so much to them. It's entertaining to watch, but also to see how they interact within the fight, and how this relates to what they were going through. The set design and backgrounds for these fight scenes in particular do a great job paralleling that development, and is used wonderfully as not only a prop, but as a way to interact for the choreography. But the set design isn't the only thing that helps, and the actual revue, the music that accompanies them, is also a vital piece. Not only are these insert songs really awesome and paces extremely well with the fight scenes, but the general soundtrack is also impactful. The sound director and director is able to blend the music with what's happening on the screen, almost as if everything on screen is a play. It's as if scenes are being dictated by the music at times, and yet those same scenes are also being enhanced by the music and can still stand on their own, but are just made that much more with the amazing soundtrack following. It's really appropriate, I think, to have that kind of attention to directing, to make things feel almost too perfect, to have these scenes sync with the music so well as if it was a play, because, well, these characters are training to perform a play, and also because of, well, there are other spoiler reasons, but the point is there are layers here to find. Of course, if you don't care about those layers, then rest assured the music is just really banging anyway, and that's really the point here. Shoujo Kageki Revue Starlight is a franchise and series that has really unexpectedly captured me in its creative way in dealing with the genre. Instead of simply being another idol show, it really extends itself by using its performing nature to put on these beautiful bouts of combat, while telling these very emotional and endearing story arcs among its characters that I really resonated with, and I think many people could resonate with. Among that, it is accompanied by astute music and directing that really tied together the whole package and made the show interesting, entertaining, action-packed, and nothing like what you'd expect going into a show like this.